you're 50 years and over or turning 50 in 2024, our 50-plus car insurance is perfect for you. It's loaded with free benefits like loss of use, special perils, and windscreen cover up to $2,500. Getting to 50 is filled with ups and downs. Let's celebrate these moments together and look forward to 50 more. Call Beacon Insurance at 440-4447 or log on to beacongrenada.com to get a free quote today. Special conditions apply.
On me, covered in the showers of your love, baby. I'm like a song without a key. Without you, I'm just words with no melody. You complete me.
Let me say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio. Those of you in GBN TV, good morning. Welcome inside of the mid-morning buzz with me this morning. And my guest this morning, we cannot get ourselves sorted out, so I'll ask Master Control to give us about 2 minutes, and we will come back and get things reconvened. Just give it about 2 minutes, and we get this all sorted. We'll be right back shortly. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch it out.
Grenada is indeed beautiful and worth exploring. We firmly believe that you should be allowed to do so. Why not explore Grenada with James Services Corp Off-Road Tours? Whether you decide to explore Grenada with your family, spouse, or large group of friends, we are ready to welcome you. Our tours are guaranteed to leave you with wonderful memories of Grenada if you are visiting and excitement if you live here. Book a tour with us now by visiting our website www.jamessvcs.com. Call 1473-442-3769 or email info@jamessvcs.com. James Services Corp Off-Road Tours.
I am Dennis James Williams, owner and director of James Services Corp. Looking forward to welcoming you to the beautiful island of Union to explore with James Services Corp Off-Road Tours. See you soon.
Explore our beautiful island of Grenada from an angle that is unique and off-road, but equally fun. We are 100% family-friendly tours.
Grenada, the time has come. It's the big showdown in the first ever Classic Lighted and the Communal Credit Union Invitational 2025. Come witness the Royal Grenada Police Force and His Majesty's prison officers take on the nation's busmen and women in an epic 4x1 relay. Then it's Flow versus Digicel. And don't miss out, Nawasa, who will be flooding Grenlec in the ultimate relay. All this and more, May 17th and 18th. At the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Adults $30, children $15. Season passes are available. It's a showdown like no other. Be there.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's the Mid-Morning Buzz, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Well, you know, it's a bit of an informal for me this morning. I know Teddy. Yeah. I didn't get your name, sir.
Aron Sylvester.
Aron Sylvester. Good morning. Welcome inside the Mid-Morning Buzz.
Thank you, sir.
Of course, we're here to talk about a particular production that you folks have done. How long was it done?
Man, we've been working on this for almost a year now.
Almost a year now?
Yeah.
I remember the last conversation we had is when you did that documentary pertaining to the Calinagos or something like that. So that's the last time.
That one's still kicking. That's still kicking. Strong still.
That's the last conversation I remember you being in him. We having a conversation in relation to that.
Good.
Yeah. You think? I wouldn't even get there anyway. Our conversation this morning is at the buzz. We're going to talk about consider it one of your latest production. One of the latest production. It's called Bean by Bean.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about it before we get into that depth of the conversation, what it relates to, what it's all about.
Okay. So, I mean, my my vision really is to continue to tell stories about Grenada. It's to continue to tell stories about what's happening inside the space, give it a type of cinematic voice that we're not used to. And so the effort to continue to make documentary movies, it goes on. And recently I partnered up with Aron, Trial and Chocolates, to sort of craft a story about, cocoa in Grenada, the conversion of cocoa into chocolate, and maybe some of the earlier influencers within the organic farming space that contributed to cocoa cultivation.
All right. What drove you to want to do something about cocoa? I mean, we know from an ancestral point of view, cocoa has been something that has been from Grenada, especially the older folks. What drove you to want to do a documentary in relation to that?
Well, I mean, it's a big story in Grenada, you know what I mean? Since I'm small in school, you hear cocoa, nutmeg, and banana. So I just wanted to, I saw this as an opportunity to amplify a voice within that space. And Grenada has too many stories, I think, that's gone untold. And so I just thought if this was an opportunity to do something there, why not?
All right. How was it being part of this production for you, sir?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the kind of where this all came from was the opportunity that was provided by the Ministry of Tourism to do a community tourism grant, basically. So I'd used that opportunity to tell a story, not the story, but a story which culminates in the Rastafarian community as well as cocoa. Because being a cocoa farmer and being a chocolate maker myself, and my family who are Rastafarian up in Mamacan, I felt that there was a misrepresentation of Rastafarianism that I find in media, and let's just say people have a misconception sometimes, and I wanted to give them a voice and give them the platform to shine and show what they're all about, because you don't necessarily, in my opinion, see enough of that community online, on big budget movies, on TV, and I felt that with this small budget that we had and the opportunity to partner with Teddy, this would be a great platform to amplify that voice and really show what my family and what Rastafarianism is and what Rastafarians in Grenada are all about. And a large part of it is about the cocoa, in my opinion, and I wanted to show that story.
You started up saying about, you into farming. That's right. Tell us about your background in production and video and stuff like that. Let's get the farming part of the rest.
Got you. I have absolutely no experience in video production, but I'm an entrepreneur, and I have plenty of ideas. So for me, it was about, I wanted to tell a story, but I don't have the technical ability to tell a story. Hence,
that's what you grab onto Teddy
and the Grenada Film Company, and that's where it all came from.
All right, great. Now that we have gotten that little formalities out of the way just a wee bit, we have a production. I'm gonna go to Master Control for a wee bit, take a peek of it, so we get a kind of prelude of where we're going with this conversation this morning. Master Control is over to you for a wee bit. Let's see what's happening there.
Alright. From growing up, since small, I know that my parents have been farmers and we are connected to the land.
We're the third chocolate factory to be established on the island, and we make beautiful Grenada chocolate. As soon as you mention the word chocolate, everything go up by 10 times.
We know Grenada has great cocoa, great spices, but I was always passionate about making sure that the world could kind of get a chance to experience it.
I've been in the chocolate factory over 19 years now, and I love making chocolate.
So we just start experimenting and getting things right. Left side to then start chocolate making. Right now I do the man.
When we're talking about the modern history of Grenada, in the mid-17th century, cocoa was one of the first crops that was grown in Grenada.
So more organic, you can get a more enduring fruit. We're taking care of the science, and that's why we use that same food to go to the home of the Asian Black Fishermen, to give it to our Asian people.
It makes me proud to be a cocoa farmer and seeing the cocoa bear. Because if you don't take care of the cocoa tree, you ain't gonna bear.
Education. And through that education, it could have divert through the land. Because remember, agriculture is education.
All right, welcome back. So, and I guess that we stem the name Bean by Bean. I have grabbed that from just looking at that, of course, that short clip that we look at there just a wee bit. Now the production, I'm assuming it's in the final stages or it's already completed.
Yeah, it's ready to go.
It's ready to go. Yeah. Tell us some more about it. Tell us more about it.
So we're going to be screening the first viewing of the film.
Okay.
On the 23rd of this month.
All right.
That's next week Friday.
Yeah, that's next week Friday. That's going to be at True Blue Conference Center.
All right. The production. Tell us how well, we spoke a lot of how it came about and so forth. How was it getting that particular production done for you in terms of I'm seeing a conversation with the Rastafarians, the farmers and so forth there, actually being in the land, as we would say locally. You know, how was it done? How was that for you?
It always starts with a lot of consultation.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned from making films, you kind of have to approach it from a grassroots level, just kind of be on the ground with people. And so it's a conversation, leading up to we're going to be making a film. Because no one likes you to just show up with a black eye just pointed in front of them. They kind of want to warm up to it if you want to get that genuine reactions from them as well.
That kind of be yourself kind of vibe, yes.
So I usually just go, I spend some time in the space with the people, let them know what's going on. And sometimes make 1 or 2 visits and get them comfortable. So when they start seeing cameras around, seeing things around, they're not like freezing up. And then from there, we're able to kind of dive in a little deeper because I understand what it is that they're doing, I understand how they move within their own space, and try to bring that and capture it out, from them and put it on camera.
What does this film actually tell us for Grenada in general? Yeah.
Sorry, say that again?
No, I was saying, what does this film actually tell us about Grenada, especially grabbing the name Bean by Bean, and it deals with our cocoa and so on. What does it actually tell us?
I think the biggest, well, not the biggest, but one of the many takeaways for people from this documentary film is just having a really big understanding of how big our cocoa industry actually is. I think people don't quite realize that Grenada's the smallest country in the world with the most chocolate factories. We actually have 6 fully producing chocolate companies in Grenada. There's actually a 7th one, but they actually don't make their chocolate in Grenada. They make it in the UK. But as an island, that's one of our biggest accolades. And then in terms of chocolate, there's only 7 countries in the world that have 100% fine flavored cocoa, which means all of the cocoa throughout the entire nation is of the highest possible quality. So for us, it's about, from a first perspective, understanding what we have, which is exemplary quality cocoa, and it's really telling the stories of the people behind the beans. I mean, as a chocolate maker, I go through multiple steps from harvesting to fermentation to drying to roasting to grinding to make chocolate, but not everybody knows all of the steps that it goes to make that finished product, and they definitely don't understand about all of the hands that have touched that cocoa bean to go from the beginning all the way to the end, so you get to enjoy that chocolate. So this really is about giving those individuals that you don't necessarily see a chance to come above and get seen and understand the work and the effort that goes into looking after the land, because we're all just looking after land. We're not taking the land up to us, so we're just looking after it, and it's just letting everybody know that that's what it's all about.
Tell me about the challenges of getting this particular production done. Tell me what some of the challenges that you're
man,
or if there were any at all.
One of the biggest challenges, I would say, especially when you're dealing with community individuals, sometimes they sort of disqualify themselves already, not understanding the vision, what you can bring creatively to a space. So they'll be like, oh yeah, man, I just so good for camera, I can't talk on camera, and then they sort of like saying like, no, they're not, but in the reality is, everyone becomes a talent in someone's story at some point. And so you have a voice, and that voice is unique. And I think what's synonymous right now with even box office returns universally is that we are looking for spaces that have unique selling points. And that's what we want to put on camera. So I'm also looking for that as a cinematographer. So even if I see someone and they start telling me, oh yeah, like I can't be on camera, I'm shy or whatever, like I'm looking beyond that. And so I probably think to myself, I need to spend more time with that person so that the black eye of the camera don't like intimidate them even too much.
Kind of way of easing them into it. Because I've noticed that this are all natural individuals.
Yeah, man.
Nobody's probably went to acting school or anything of that nature. That's why I asked a question in terms of the challenge that you face.
And that's the thing about Grenada. Like a lot of people that I have seen so far, every time you show up with a car, you can see they want to express something on camera. They feel like, they've seen such a big production somewhere that somebody had to pretend or cry. It's like, I can't do that in front of camera. But like this documentary movie space is, takes that away from the fear of that of big cinema feelings from people. And I think once we understand it like this, people usually get more comfortable.
All right. Telling the story. Let me hear from you. Telling that particular story, because I'm hearing the part of it that you were narrating in part of the story also, and in the part of tell about telling the story of the production. How was that for you in particular? Can you say you have no acting?
No. Well, like, to be honest with you, I think it was good that I didn't have any experience, because I'm not acting, and that's the thing, right? I'm just telling my story, and I've got many different stories within that one story, but for me it really was about, I just want to let everybody know what we do, because working in chocolate, speaking to people in other countries, they have a perception, sometimes a misconception of us as chocolate makers, of us as Grenadians, of Rastafarians, and it's just putting it all out there and letting the voices share their own stories. I think you mentioned challenges, and I'm sure one of the challenges Teddy probably did come across is some people don't feel like their story is a story people want to hear. And I feel sometimes when you spend time with someone and you get them to just open up, they become comfortable. Sometimes some of the most amazing stories start coming out.
They don't want to stop talking now, right?
Yeah, it's like when people come into my chocolate factory and they start hearing about how I left England and moved home to Grenada, and they start realising, why would you leave the UK and come here? Then I say, look over there, and they see Grenad's beach, and they're like, now I get it. I mean, that's one simple story in a micro level, but when you've got many people sat down with Teddy and they're getting a chance to tell their story of where they came from, how they're making chocolate, how they're making products from cocoa, whether it's cocoa tea, chocolate, cocoa powder, what have you, they start realizing this little thing that I thought was little is actually quite big. And I mean, that's the unique part of documentary making, and I'm a student of all of this too, so it's been quite fun to be along this journey and give my input from a chocolate perspective, and then connecting the different chocolate makers and giving some of those an opportunity to tell their stories, because there's so much that we don't already know.
Add a little bit to that. When you start thinking about it in the grand sense of our different industries in Grenada, and agriculture has been one of those for years that we talk about.
Yes.
There is always a need or a sense for representation and to reflect the identity of those people within that. Every industry feel it. Like, if you think about a creative industry, people want some type of respect, or they want representation so that their industry could be taken serious, their craft could be taken serious. And I think when you take it from that point of view, especially with documentary storytelling, you realize within that industry, find out what it is that is hurting the people that they have been talking about for years, that they haven't gotten the opportunity to address. And then you sort of like start pulling the story from that there, so that everybody could sort of resonate with it after. And on a grand scale for Grenada, they can also tap into it, because this is what everybody is saying is the issues for them within that particular space. This is the voice, and now we're trying to amplify that by magnifying it, put a magnifying glass on it.
Sometimes you hear individuals who make the comments, we have so much cocoa, and we don't make any cocoa for ourselves. We have to buy this, or we have to buy that, and we're not doing it for ourselves. So this particular production would have folks take the conversation away from themselves.
I think so.
You understand? Take it away from themselves and bring it to the wider community, where a lot of folks know actually what's going on. I know there are a lot of Grenadians probably doesn't even know chocolate's been made in Grenada.
Real.
Yeah. And they're eating chocolate all the time.
Absolutely.
No, I want to come back to you, sir, for a wee bit. How has it started for you? Getting in what encouraged you, what amplified you wanting to be in this particular industry of making cocoa and the chocolate.
Yeah.
Not making the cocoa, but getting the cocoa production done and making the chocolate. What drove you to that?
Sure.
You said you left the UK and you came back. You said something. You leave the UK and come back to Grenada.
But these are people that have never been to Grenada, so they don't know what they're saying. But I mean, ultimately, I grew up in the UK, as I mentioned. My grandparents are from Crowshoe in Felix Park. They had left me and my brother 2 acres of land up there, which we have 98 cocoa trees, so not a lot. But I decided when Brexit happened in 2016 in the UK that I'd leave the cold, come home to where my parents and grandparents are from, and I basically learnt to make chocolate. So I was a self-made chocolate maker, self-taught chocolate maker, and also a self-taught, apart from my uncles and family and friends that had taught me how to be a cocoa farmer, and are still learning to be a cocoa farmer, and literally got into growing cocoa, and then in 2018 we launched a company, Trial in Chocolate, and we make chocolate.
Okay.
And that's been our journey in chocolate. And then through that time we started doing different experiences and excursions, and off the back of COVID we started what we call our Rastafarian tour, where guests prior to COVID had always mentioned to me that they had an interest in the Rastafarian guys over there, like what are they about, and that community. I don't understand these people, they seem very different, and I had no way of articulating that culture because it's not my culture. So I connected with my uncle Atiba up in Mamakan, and we created a tour where guests go and spend 2.5 hours with him and my auntie, and they get to really understand the culture, the hair, the food, the music, everything, and they get to really walk away with an understanding of the culture from the top to the bottom, and that's really where it all culminated in that, and to where we are today.
All right. Interesting to know. So where does it lead? Where does it go from here? We know you have the screening coming up in a couple of days. Where does it go from there?
So the plan is to have the screening, as you mentioned, in a couple of days. Then the goal is to do some community screenings around the island. So we're hopefully going to have one up in Mamakan. There will be some around the island, St. Mark's and so forth. And that's really for the community.
Some schools as well.
Yeah, sorry, and some schools. And that's really for the schools, the kids and the community to really get to see this. Then the goal is to do screenings in London, New York and Berlin, and then we'll try and do some where the diaspora are located and get them have a chance to screen it, and then we hope to try and get into bigger distribution outlets after that, and try and get it seen by as many people.
We also have a screening on the 25th with all the Rastafarians, because they have like a National Rastafarian Day.
It's a Liberation Day.
Liberation Day,
That's
yeah.
right.
So we're going to show it at Liberation Day as well, because a lot of them are present in the film.
Okay, great. Great. Teddy, how does it feel, of course, making production of that nature, the particular documentary, you a young man doing that? How does it make you feel?
It's a little bittersweet, and I'll tell you why. One, it encourages me that Grenada has reached a certain space now where we have the tolerance to taking this type of content. It's not a blockbuster film. It doesn't have such a high entertainment value in terms of special effects and visual effects and stuff like that. But the narratives that are in there and the representation of some of the people knowing that they can see themselves and they have an opportunity now to amplify their voices, that gives me a lot of encouragement to keep making the films. And on the other hand, I would really like to see more stories being told. I feel like Grenada have endless stories that from old we've always talked about, maybe in our own little circles, and we know that when it come out on film, everybody could say, this is
it's
that.
It's called relating.
This is, and a Grenadian could tell. A Grenadian could tell.
Yes.
And so that is what I might hope for. I would hope for to see more stories being told, more investments are being put within the creative industry to tell stories at this level and at this scale. This is a 30-minute film, and I feel like many times we cannot stop there at this length because of the time it takes us to make it, but also what the investment can reach.
Yes.
So it'd be nice to make feature films and to enter into bigger festivals, bigger spaces with our movies. But so I think it's a work in progress where I'm giving up. I'm relentless where it is in the film space. We have other films being made right now that we're going to be putting out for the rest of the year, so I'm still keeping at it here.
What other documentary you think has enticed your mind that you may not have touched yet that you would like to do? I mean, there's lots of things about Grenada that has not come to the forefront through film-wise.
One of the things I've seen so far, and I'm basing that on the basis that when I've shown my Kalinago film internationally, and right now I'm at my 15th screening, in-person screening. This is not festivals we're talking.
Yes.
So this is events that we have curated and put on to show the film. Some of the feedback that I would have gotten from Grenada kind of helps me know that people want to understand more about the cultural aspect of Grenada. And so I've taken some of it into consideration, and that's why you probably heard about Don't Blink with Mama Glow and so on. So I started to pull in the idea of folklore.
Yes.
I realized regionally there's also a big movement for folklore stories, and internationally this is very consistent with box office numbers as well, where you see agencies like the MCU, Marvel, DC, they're tapping into different cultures and pulling out some of the essence from there with their folklore and putting it on the big screen. A beautiful example of that would be Miss Marvel from India. You know what I mean? There's a lot of culture going on around there with her inside of the film, and they put that on the big screen. And I think we also have the same opportunity to do that. Some of these ideas of folklore have been interpreted negatively in the past, But I think, from just hearing some of the stories, they can be interpreted as aliens or maybe even superheroes in some cases. Depends on how you bring them to life. So it'll be nice to see what they come about, what they look like on big screen.
Yes, I mean, you talk about that like everyone.
Yeah.
That will be certainly interesting. I want to thank both of you once again for coming on the program this morning. It's interesting. I like conversation of this nature. It sort of sets your mind in a different direction in terms of understanding, our small island and that impact it can have on the world.
Very much
and especially when you do it through a particular documentary that grabs your attention in that particular way. It's always interesting. So I want to wish you guys all the best at the screening.
Thank you.
We hope lots of folks comes out and view it and request that it be viewed at various places, which would just give it that extra boost that it needs.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
All right, pleasure to have you. All right, man. Hey, folks, that's going to take a wrap for this edition of the Mid-Morning Buzz here on Classic Radio GBN TV. Until we have another edition, have a good one. That's what we say goodbye.
I'm a young Rasta, right? And from growing up, since small, I know that my parents have been farmers and we are connected to the land.
We're the third chocolate factory to be established on the island, and we make beautiful Grenada chocolate. As soon as you mention the word chocolate, everything go up by 10 times.
We know Grenada has great cocoa, great spices, but I was always passionate about making sure that the world could kind of get a chance to experience it.
I've been in the chocolate factory over 19 years now. I love making chocolate.
So we just start experimenting and getting things right. Left side to them start chocolate making. Right now, I do man.
When we're talking about the modern history of Grenada, in the mid-17th century, cocoa was one of the first crops that was grown in Grenada.
Through more organic, you can get a more enduring fruit. We're taking care of the soil, and that's why we use that same food to go to the home of the aged and black fishermen, to give it to our Asian people.
What makes me proud to be a cocoa farmer is seeing the cocoa bear. Because if you don't take care of the cocoa tree, you ain't gonna be.
Education. And through that education, it could have divert through the land. Because remember, agriculture is education.